criminal records.
Without objection. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Chairman McClintock. Another day and another hearing to distract the country from the dumpster fire of the Trump administration instead of talking about how Trump and Musk are destroying our economy, busting unions, gutting Social Security and Medicaid, stealing people's private information and trampling on civil liberties. Republicans are here to, surprise, surprise, scapegoat immigrants once again. The Republican playbook on immigration is dishonest and cruel. Republicans have lifted up some tragedies that involved immigrants committing a few crimes. This is the exception, not the rule. I live in an immigrant neighborhood in Chicago. I know what it's like. But the antidote to dishonesty is truth, and that's what I'm going to talk about. The truth here is that there's significant evidence that welcoming jurisdictions have lower crime rates, lower poverty rates, lower reliance on public assistance, and lower unemployment rates. This is from a stakeholder, someone who lives day in, day out. Do I want to live in a dangerous neighborhood? I have a wife, I have children, I have grandchildren. But welcoming jurisdictions have had to do this for good reason. And the truth is that the courts around the country have repeatedly upheld welcoming policies like the ones in Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois. They've also held that forcing states and localities to participate in immigration enforcement violates the Constitution. The truth is that welcoming policies increase trust between community and law enforcement. That's why forcing states and localities to be an instrument of ICE is opposed, not only by local law enforcement leaders, including Chicago, but also by many crime victims groups like the National Task Force to End Sexual and Domestic Violence. But despite all of this, Republicans are championing a bill that would cut billions of federal funding for essential programs like public safety, education, and transportation if states and localities do not sign up to enforce Stephen Miller and Tom Homan's reckless, racist, and illegal immigration agenda. Major Franklin, thank you for being here. Let me ask you, would cutting funding for these essential programs help or harm public safety in your opinion?
Cutting the funding for those programs would definitely harm. It's no doubt about it. And the services are extensive, and that's one of the things that the Law Enforcement Action Partnership helps communities do, cities and towns, is to manage their limited resources and find other ways of dealing with community issues and problems other than law enforcement.
Thank you. And in your experience, how do welcoming policies affect domestic violence survivors and other crime victims?
So outside of my law enforcement experience, when I was with the Baltimore Police Department, I was also the president of an organization called Turnaround Incorporated. That was an advocacy organization for victims of domestic violence and child sexual assault and so on. And working with that organization for 4 years opened my eyes quite a bit as to the importance of having welcoming policies for the immigrant community as it relates to domestic violence and ensuring that they get the services they need, especially since it is very difficult for them to come forward when they are victims or their family members are victims. So you've got to have that trust built between those communities and the police.
Thank you, sir. It's quite clear to me that Republicans are not interested in public safety or crime victims, tragically. If Republicans cared about public safety, they'd talk about the obedience to the NRA and red states having the highest rates of gun deaths and homicides. If Republicans cared about public safety, they'd support investments in evidence-based public health approaches that are proven to reduce violence. If Republicans cared for public safety, they wouldn't be criminalizing immigrants, kidnapping people, or disappearing them to El Salvador. And if Republicans cared about public safety, they would never have supported Donald Trump, a man whose greed and cruel actions makes us all less safe. I'm proud to have helped shape Chicago's first welcoming measure in 1985 in the face of lies and cruelty. Mr. Chairman, before I yield back, I do request unanimous consent.
Without objection, the chair would remind members that the kind of personal attacks directed at the president are not permitted on the House floor, and they will not be permitted in this committee. Mr. Moore.
Can I submit, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, I said without.
Thank you. I would like to submit for the record a study. Immigrants do not commit more crimes in the U.S. despite fear-mongering. Another article, immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born Americans, studies find. And a third article, study finds that no crime increase in cities that adopted sanctuary policies despite Trump claims. Thank you.
Be very interested in reading those. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to the Biden-Harris administration, border crisis, illegal aliens flooded sanctuary cities, overwhelmed their infrastructure, and maxed out their budgets. According to the New York City Mayor Eric